The problem is the mindset. When American companies, for instance, go into a country like India, they bring the American mindset. When you try to attack India using American logic, what I call the dominant logic, if you use the American dominant logic, you are completely lost. In fact, the more successful a developed world multinational is, more they struggle because their dominant logic, because of the success, gets entrenched. Let me give you two examples quickly. Kellogg. Kellogg is a great company. It's got great brands. Probably today for breakfast, you may have had a Kellogg brand, whether it is cornflakes or Rice Krispies or Cheerios or one of those. Kellogg has been operating in India for well over 35 years. But today, their sales revenue is $5 million in India. If your sales revenue is $5 million in India, that means you are practically an irrelevant player in India, which is perhaps the largest and the fastest growing breakfast market in the world. The question is why? ESPN is now part of Disney. ESPN is a non-factor in India, which is perhaps the largest and the fastest growing media and entertainment market in the world. The question is why? And the answer for Kellogg and ESPN and for every other successful multinational I've studied is the same. And the answer is they approach these emerging markets using the logic from the rich countries. Now, what's the problem with Kellogg? You see, if you ask the CEO of Kellogg, he will tell you he has already done the innovation for India. Because if you go to India, take for instance cornflakes. In India, they have the plain cornflakes, then they have the banana cornflakes, then they have the mango cornflakes. So they think they have already done the innovation for India. Now, what's the problem? If you have ever gone to India, or you have friends who are Indians, we have some very peculiar habits. For instance, in breakfast, we like to eat hot breakfast. So you pour hot milk on your cereal. I don't care whether it is plain cornflakes or banana cornflakes or mango cornflakes. It becomes a mush. Who wants to eat that? So the only Indians who are buying your cornflakes are Indians who behave like Americans, who pour cold milk on their cornflakes. So the CEO of Kellogg, sitting in Chicago or wherever, he's saying $5 million sales revenue in India is okay. Once Indians become more civilized, they will come to my cornflakes. In a multipolar world, who decides who is civilized and who is not civilized? What's the problem with ESPN? Last month, when I was in India, I was staying in this hotel, and the lady who came to clean my room, she always came after 6 p.m. And she has 3 boys, a wonderful husband, a wonderful family. So I kind of asked her, why are you always coming after 6 p.m.? Don't you want to spend time with your family? And she told me, sir, you're absolutely right. But if I come after 6 p.m., I make twice the salary. She may be poor. That does not mean she is an idiot. Poor people have the same intelligence as the rich. She understands she can make twice the income if she came after 6 p.m. She understands economics 101, just like the way you and I understand. So once I started talking with her, she told me she has 6 paid movie channels. This will be like your HBO, Showtime, etc. Paid cable channels are extremely expensive in India. Just to give you a point of comparison, one of the CEOs that I know in India, he only has 1 paid movie channel. That means this lady, she is a copious user of media and entertainment. If you're ESPN sitting in Atlanta and using the American logic in segmenting the market, in the US, you're not going to segment, you're not going to target people who clean the rooms in a hotel as your primary customer. So you would have completely missed her in India. Now, what is going on? So I kind of asked her, I don't want to insult you, but I would not have expected you to be a copious user of media and entertainment. Can you tell me why? And she told me, sir, you're absolutely right. But if I don't have the 6 paid movie channels, my 3 boys go out every day. When they go out every day, they spend a lot of money. So by having the 6 paid movie channels, I keep them at home. So she has done her discounted cash flow analysis and figured out this is net positive. Then she told me, if I don't have the 6 paid movie channels, my mother-in-law will go out every day to watch a movie next door. If my mother-in-law goes out every day, who's going to stick around to cook for the 3 boys? I have to stay behind to cook for my 3 boys. Then I can't come to the hotel and make twice the income. She may be poor. That does not mean she can't be a consumer. She is actually a copious consumer. She may be poor. Therefore, she is definitely illiterate. That doesn't mean she is not intelligent. Poor people are astute observers of value. It is for us to understand what is the value they are seeking, and then come up with an innovation that will unlock that value. Perhaps let me just close with this observation. We have to fundamentally change our definition of innovation. When we think of innovation in the West, we think of spending more money. We want to innovate by spending more money. I say we have to innovate by spending less money. In the West, our definition of innovation is value for money. I think we should change it from value for money to value for many. And value for many implies doing more with less. Doing a lot more with a lot less for a lot of people. If you take 100 poor people at random and 100 rich people at random, there is absolutely no difference between these 2 groups. Poor people have the same needs as the rich. Poor people have the same desires as the rich. Poor people have the same ambition as the rich. Why can't they have access to opportunity just like the rich? That is the essence of reverse innovation. Thank you very much.
Vijay. Wasn't that amazing? Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, who is leaving next week for India to start a new business after listening to this? Anybody? A few. You've inspired a few, and so many around the world. Thank you for coming to see us. You came just for this event, didn't you?
That's right.
And, we are delighted that you came. Remember that you can post questions on Twitter. It's a little bit quiet, so please wakey. So hashtag NB Forum 2013. You have an article coming in the Harvard Business Review coming up, and we were talking with Malcolm earlier, and we know that if, for example, in healthcare in the United States, if they would stop innovation, if they would just use what they have already, they would create efficiencies that would make them 300 times more efficient. There are stories,
without a question. In fact, this is the way I would frame it. There are 2 ways to think about delivering healthcare to people. One is doing innovation on clinical side, which is really improving the medical technology, how to treat cancer patients better, etc. Other thing is to deliver what we know better. In fact, if we stop all research in medicine, suppose our medical knowledge is not going to be anything beyond what we know on September 26, 2013.
What will happen?
I still believe we can deliver 500 times more healthcare to Americans, 1,000 times more healthcare to Americans. That means there is something terribly, terribly inefficient about our delivery of healthcare. It's not just in healthcare. This is the same situation in education. You can think about so many sectors where we can take our current knowledge and simply deliver it better. This is the article that is going to come out in Harvard Business Review in November, where we are going to show that there are hospitals in India which are delivering 1,000 times more healthcare than in the US at
with the same resources or even less.
Even fewer resources. At 5% of the cost, they are delivering healthcare to 1,000 times more. The question is, why not? Why can't we adopt those delivery practices?
It's amazing when you put your mind to it, and this is a great example of the developing world saving the developed world in many ways, because people could, really appreciate that kind of efficiency in services in this, in the Western world. Questions, even live questions. We have our catch box. Still waiting for your tweets, by the way. There's no network. We're in Finland, after all, There you go. The best IT country in the world. And there we go. No, ilman kos, as they say. All right. Do we have our cat? At least we can do it vocally. We have one question here. You already spoke, but I'll give it to you anyway, because you're just throw it to our colleague. Please.
Just in case I'm all you've got, so.
You're all I've got, man.
Sorry.
You're the only guy with sisu in the room. Yeah. There you go.
Last year, at a fair in Singapore, a Chinese arms manufacturer introduced a fully operational drone that cost $1.5 million to make, which adds to 3% of the cost of the same drone would be made in the US. Add this to everything that you've told us today, and the question emerges, how do you see reverse innovation affecting the fundamentals of the global economy, especially in the way we Westerners tend to think on who's the one making the money in the world in the future?
Great question. This is the way I would put it. Unfortunately, corporations have divided the world into two. The world has 7 billion people. We have conveniently divided them into two. 1 billion who have purchasing power, for whom we will supply products and services. And the 6 billion, we have essentially condemned them to charity. Out of the 6 billion, 90% of them live in these 160 poor countries. Therefore, I say the biggest opportunity for corporations is converting those non-consumers into consumers. I think providing the solutions for non-consumers is not an issue for charity. We don't have enough money in the world to donate ourselves out of poverty. Therefore, the best way to solve the problems of the poor is through innovation. And corporations, I say, has an important role because companies know how to execute, companies know how to innovate, companies know how to scale. We have capabilities. Therefore, this is a challenge for commerce. And this is the most important challenge. Therefore, it is going to change the global dynamics as companies shift the resources and capabilities into these markets to unlock this value.
Thank you. Another question. Twitter. Actually, something came up. My God. Okay. I don't really understand this one, but it's the only one I have. So I'm going to display it. There you go, just to show off some good Finnish technology. Okay, question. How is reverse innovation related to Jugad? So,
see,
Chandra, can you tell us what that is? Because that's not easy for me to understand.
Jugad is a Hindi word, it's an Indian word, which means make do, improvise. Reverse innovation is not Jugad. Jugad is about if you go to India, there are ways by which we will simply make do. For instance, last month when I was in India, my iPhone didn't work. And typically in the US, I would have taken it to the Apple store, they would have sent it to some place to service it, etc. But I didn't have time. But my servant maid in India, she said, "Sir, can you give me that iPhone?" And she kind of shook it or something and it started to work. That is Jugad. Jugad is somehow making do with what we have. That's not reverse innovation. Reverse innovation requires the latest technology. It requires the latest design. It requires the latest management, not yesterday's technology, not just make do with things. If you go to Bangalore cardiac facility, you will be blown away by the latest and the greatest gadgets that they have. You need the best technology to reduce costs.
At a fraction of the cost.
Exactly. So therefore, it is not Jugad.
But this is Jugad, what this guy did. I don't know, he got through when nobody else got through. This is Jugad. Give him a hand. How did you do that? That's Jugad. I learned something. Oh, we have a question, please. Catch and speak.
Yes, hi. My name is Sara Lindemann, and I'm doing my doctoral research on related topics. I wonder, how do you see in the reverse innovation? Do you think there will be, what will happen between sectors, like cross-sector innovation, differences between, how do you see that? Do you have any examples already of where we see sectors kind of blur into each other?
It's a great question. This is a couple of levels of answers that were given. This may be a good way for me to close the dialogue as well. First of all, I say there are some sectors where reverse innovation is ripe to happen. 3 sectors I would put: healthcare, education, and energy are absolutely ripe for reverse innovation, even though the potential exists in other areas as well. The second question you're asking is, will the sectors themselves blur? This is the way I would put it. In reverse innovation, you can actually take ideas, breakthrough ideas from another sector and apply it to a new sector. For instance, in the healthcare, I already told you, they are using principles from automobile manufacturing. Principles like lean manufacturing, mass production, assembly line, etc. Some of the hospitals in India are also using hub and spoke, which was a concept that we pioneered in the airline industry. Essentially, hub and spoke is a way for them to reduce costs and provide high quality. Therefore, in that sense, we can borrow ideas from other places as well.